Well, hello everyone. I'm Sibyl Star, and I am here to give the astrology forecast for the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse that occurs on September 17th or 18th, depending on where you are. So let us first look at the chart. Let's see, I'm going to screen share here real quickly. All right. So the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse occurs here on the West Coast on September 17th at 7:34 p.m. Pacific time. Okay. And so the eclipse moon is at 25 degrees, 40 minutes of Pisces, and it is opposite the sun here at 25 degrees, 40 minutes of Virgo. Okay. And it's important to remember that at the full moon, that that the moon has no light of her own. She only reflects the light of the sun. Okay. And so some other components of this um, full moon chart is like I said, we've got the moon is here at 25 degrees of Pisces. It's tightly conjunct Neptune at 28 degrees 35 minutes of Pisces, and of course Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, so this makes this an extra strong Pisces full moon. Okay, now there's also what is called a grand earth trine. Oh, it's a kite with a grand earth trine. So what we have is we've got the sun here at 25 degrees of Virgo. It's trine Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn, trine Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus, and then comes back. And so you can see it here. Here's the triangle right here. This blue one, it's kind of hard to see with all that other stuff in there, but there it is. Okay. But then it's also a kite because it's got this tail, or we call this the release point that of the opposition of the moon to the sun. Okay, so it makes a kite with like a tail. Okay, all right. And then there's also a T square because it also the solar, excuse me, lunar eclipse is in a square to Jupiter. So there's a lot going on with the actual energy of the full moon. Now we also have Venus. Venus is in her own sign of a Libra, 23 degrees, 54 minutes. And so she makes what is called an inconjunct. So we could say she's 24 degrees. She makes what's called an inconjunct or quincunx, 150 degrees from the moon. Okay, and so that's an aspect of adaptation. It's two energies that maybe don't work that well together normally, but are yet asked to work together. Okay, Venus is also opposite Chiron and Eris, and she is trine Jupiter. Okay, and of course, a trine is an easy flow. Okay, what else have we got here? Anything? Well, we do have Mars in a square to the nodes of the moon. All right. Oh, we have one more thing. We've got Mercury in Virgo opposite Saturn in Pisces. Okay, so we've got a lot in the Pisces Virgo axis. So that's what we're going to be talking mostly about, but we'll talk about the other things as well. All right, so let us begin. What does all of this actually mean? So this is a super moon. Number one, it's a partial lunar eclipse, so it's not a really big one. And so just part of the moon will be covered. It will be partially covered. And actually, a lunar eclipse, what actually happens is, as I said, the moon has no light of her own. So she reflects the light of the sun. And during during a lunar eclipse, the shadow of the earth comes between the sun and the moon. So part of the moon is eclipsed by that shadow. Okay. And so it's a super moon, which means it's really close to the earth and it's going to be very big. It is partial. It occurs on September 17th here in the US. In east of the US, it will be on the 18th. and it will be visible over much of Mother Earth, over Europe, most of Asia, Africa, North America, South America, the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic, and Antarctica. Okay. And like I said, lunar eclipses always occur on a full moon. And what happens is, the our everything in our solar system is made of the photons from the sun. And so when an eclipse happens and it blocks the light of the sun in any way for any length of time, it allows more cosmic energy to come in and to enter the field, and it impacts the electromagnetic field of Mother Earth. Eclipses are harbingers of change. They bring light to what has been hidden, and the full moon herself shows us the culmination of the intention that was set at the new moon. And part of the energy of the new moon was lifting the veil of illusion in our personal lives as well as in the collective field. Okay. This north node lunar eclipse. It's a north node lunar eclipse. And so the north node is our way forward, and it often indicates a new beginning. And so, what happens at the lunar eclipse is an influx of new elements that positively affect our personal lives and creates an opening for a new beginning. The lunar eclipse relates to our soul and to the emotional body. It impacts our relationships, but also our relationships to the external world. So if you have planets or angles from 22 to 29 degrees of the Pisces Virgo axis, you will have it will be activated in your chart. Okay, it'll be activated in your life. And often what happens during around an eclipse, something happens and then it unfolds for like the next 6 months with a lunar eclipse. The impact can last up to 6 months. Okay. And it is square the Gemini, the other mutable signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. And so that's more of a challenge. And it's trine the other water signs. Pisces, it trines Cancer and Scorpio. So that is a much easier flow of energy. The house, and like I said, it is often a harbinger of change. So whatever house that it's in, it may bring some changes. Okay. And so let's just say it's in the fourth house. The eclipse moon happens in the fourth house. It can impact your home and family, but it's also with the the full moon, with the sun being in Virgo, is also going to impact your career or public life. So it's actually both. Like I said, it's the axis that is really active at the lunar eclipse. All right. And it's also important to know this is the first of several eclipses in the Virgo Pisces axis, as the nodes of the moon will be changing into Virgo and Pisces in 2025. So they haven't been in Virgo and Pisces for almost 18 years now. Okay. All right. So what is the Pisces energy, since that is the moon? So the Pisces archetype is the mystic. Which is about a conscious connection to the divine. Pisces is very creative and imaginative, and the energy is known as dreamers. I mean, in the our dreams may become very active during this time, so it's really important to pay attention to your dreams, as well as, let's say, being a visionary dreamer. Like if you're working with other people, you might have some very or if you might have some really great visions of what you want to see in your life. Okay. Or just in the world, it's very psychic and intuitive. It can also be clairvoyant. Okay. But one of the most significant things about Pisces is its sensitivity. It is very sensitive to the suffering of the world. Pisces is a very challenging energy to uh, have here on Mother Earth, because Mother Earth is kind of harsh, whereas Pisces is super sensitive, has diffuse emotional boundaries, and can be like a psychic sponge. So it's really important to recognize that you might just simply be more sensitive to the field. I often say that Pisces are like shapeshifters. They can really feel the energy, they can feel what is going on, and they can adapt themselves to flow with that energy, or let's say to bring balance, or wherever it is that something is out of balance. But it can also, like I say, be a psychic sponge and pick up things that don't belong to you, such as, let's say you walk into a room and you're feeling good, you're having a good day, but you leave the room and you're not feeling good anymore. You're feeling depressed or sad. You may have picked up somebody else's emotional, I don't want to say baggage, someone else's emotions, put it that way, what someone else was feeling. So it's super important to be really aware of your energy field at this time, to, if you're going to be out in public, to maybe, um, use the white light to protect yourself, or when you come home from your day's work or whatever you're doing, to get in the shower and use a salt scrub or do a salt and soda bath or whatever you can do to cleanse your energy field. Okay. And I did also want to say that no matter what I say, I always find that there's going to be people with Pisces energy that do not fit in a box. They are completely different than whatever it is I say. And so I also know that that's true too. Okay. All right. So the Pisces is ruled by Neptune, is the modern ruler. Jupiter is the ancient ruler. And I feel like there is still a very strong connection with Jupiter. Okay. And Pisces energy can kind of be like the child taken by the fairies. Find it really difficult living in this reality, and also find it difficult to discern what is real and what is not real, because the world of the imagination is very real. It's really, especially Pisces children, I think, can really walk in other realms. Okay. But there can also be a sense of feeling lost because you're feeling like you don't quite get what's going on here. All right. Pisces can be addiction prone due to that sensitivity. There can be a need to want to numb the feelings because they feel everything. And that's why it's so important to have good emotional boundaries, to know really what is yours, what and what isn't, and how to be a witness instead of absorbing the energy. And another shadow of Pisces, because it's ruled by Neptune, is illusion, believing what we want to believe, but not necessarily what is true. Okay. Now, as I showed you, the moon is conjunct Neptune at 28 degrees of Pisces. And so this um, expands it. This is increases the psychic sensitivity in the field, really astronomically, and everyone is going to feel it. It may be extremely sensitive to what is happening around you. So all of the things I said about being a psychic sponge is going to just really impact everyone, because you're going to be able to feel the field in a really big way. So once again, it's important to protect and cleanse your energy field, and to recognize what is yours and what is not, because we are stepping into the great cosmic sea of the collective unconscious. And so it is a great time to actually do some great healing work in that field. It's a great time for gatherings, to know that the collective field is so accessible. So it is a time to really work together to lift the vibration of humanity, and to know that if you're doing any personal work, you're also probably going to be doing collective work. Whatever it is of yours that is attached to the collective may show up. And one of the most important things that I think the most important teaching coming from this, though, is about unity consciousness. It is Pisces and Neptune have to do with that place where we are all one. And it's reminding us that everything is God, everything is divine. We all come from from the light of source. All people, animals, plants, Mother Earth, we're all different faces having different experiences and perceptions, allowing Creator to experience this creation. And so, even those with whom you disagree or have a different perspective, to know everyone has a role to play in this stage of life and that everyone carries that divine spark. And compassion and forgiveness for self and other allows us to feel this oneness of all creation. Now, the Sabian symbol for 28 degrees of Pisces, which is Neptune, which I felt that symbol was really really spoke in a really big way. And it is light breaking into many colors as it passes through a prism. And so, what this says to me, once again, that we all come from the light, the source of all creation. And it is about awakening to our own true divine nature and our light within. That's the important thing. And to know everyone carries that light, everyone and everything, that we are all divine. And the intention and the energy of the new moon in Virgo was a lot about the unveiling, lifting of the veil. And so this is the true reality behind the illusion. It's the illusion of separation from source. We have never left the source of all creation. We are all source and we are all faces of Creator having this experience. Okay. And we are all light, but as we individuate, we become fractals of the light to grow the greater reality. Okay. And White Eagle says, true spirituality is consciousness of unity, a realization of the oneness of all life. This is a great, this will, I feel like the energy is such a high vibration that it's really important to maybe go out in the forest, go somewhere where you can really ground the energy. And I think you will be able to feel this oneness if you slow down, make it something sacred, and be in nature. The oneness will overcome you. I feel like it's a great opening into our consciousness. Okay. Now, the moon is also conjunct the star Markab in Pegasus. And and to know that Pegasus is the winged messenger, the divine messenger. They say he's the winged messenger galloping from the heavens. He carries messages. And Pegasus is carrying us from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. Pegasus represents the shift in mindset from worshiping God to becoming your own God by acknowledging the divinity within. It's the same message. It's acknowledging our own divine nature. Pegasus is known for a need for freedom, independence, and exploring the unknown. It is highly intuitive, poetic, creative, artistic, and connected with nature. So there is a spiritual message coming through in this eclipse to acknowledge our own divine nature and maybe some other great messages as well. All right. So the Pisces Virgo axis, as I said, is always the axis, not just one, one side in the full moon. And so the Pisces, as a Pisces is the mystic, Virgo is practical. So it is about the practical mystic. So it's walking a mystical path with practical feet. So it is bringing that oneness, that experience of oneness into your everyday life, into the realm of the physical to help elevate the vibration of the whole. Pisces and Virgo are both in service. Virgo is more in physical service, whereas Pisces is about spiritual service. And it's about listening to the small voice within, our intuition, that is our direct link with our higher self. And as we do, it brings in humility. Pisces, excuse me, Virgo is very much related to humility, being humble. It is one of the gates of heaven. And there's a saying, only the humble see heaven. And so we are asked to have the humility of spirit to follow divine will, which is actually our soul plan. Our egoic will is what gets us off track. Our egoic will has to do with free will choice, and it is absolutely part of our experience. But there are times where as we're humbled, and it's like we're being asked to surrender to divine will. And I feel like that's what this is about. It takes humility to bow our heads and surrender to divine will. But when we do, we bring heaven and earth together. Okay. All right. And then the other thing, of course, is the victim savior axis, and that's really strongly in the field. And so, being so sensitive, it's feeling the suffering in the field, feeling the suffering of others. And it may be intense, especially as we are feeling the oneness. They're going to be hypersensitive to suffering. But the key is to be the witness, to not go out and want to fix it, to hold that suffering in our heart, that feeling, and transmute the fear with love. It's about meeting fear with love, because fear is always a part of suffering. So, and change is made by meeting the fear with love while allowing each person to have the experience they need to have, letting go of a need to control the outcome. People are working out their karma and their soul contracts, and we can be empathic, empathetic, kind, compassionate, and not try to fix anyone. To stay in your own lane, as one would say. We also have Mercury in Virgo, opposite Saturn in Pisces. And of course, Mercury is the mind. So it brings in the mind in this. And so we may be having thoughts around feeling like a victim ourselves. So so it's important to watch your self-talk, because you can hear your self-talk and tell yourself old stories that are no longer true, that are victimizing stories. Start recognizing if you have any victimizing stories. Saturn asks us to take responsibility for our own lives, to be able to look at reality in the eye, and and to know, let me just kind of go back here. So it can feel like someone outside of ourselves is blocking or opposing us, but it is actually an aspect of yourself showing you somewhere that you may need to change your perspective. Your perception of reality needs to change. And to be able to look at our situation with clear eyes and responsibility, and to know that this is ours to deal with, but also know that spirit has your back in every moment. But it may not be with the desired outcome that your ego wants. That's the important thing, is to have no expectations, to follow the energy. Let go of criticism or blame and trust the process. Have the experience your soul wants you to have, surrender to divine will, and treat yourself with kindness, with compassion and forgiveness. And to know this is a moment of a potential a spiritual breakthrough. Okay. Now, we also have Jupiter in Gemini at 20 degrees of Gemini, which squares the eclipse. And Jupiter, of course, is the great benefic, brings opportunities and blessings. And with a square, it may not seem like an opportunity, but say yes, even if we do not understand why. We can walk past, like an opportunity can show up. We can go, oh no, that's not for me. Well, if it's showing up, pay attention, because it's part of this eclipse, and eclipses are about change. And to know that miracles are in the field. Jupiter brings infinite possibilities when we let go and surrender. Now, Jupiter is conjunct the star Bellatrix in Orion. And many of you may remember the character in the Harry Potter stories of Bellatrix, and she was not very nice. But Bellatrix is actually a star that brings great success, but always needing to look at the shadow. There are other stars where it just simply brings success, but not Bellatrix. She says you have to look at your shadow. And I want to share just a little bit of the galactic history around Orion, because we are experiencing the echoes of the Orion Wars. The Orion Wars, they were wars that they had in that part of the galaxy for millions of years. And they had an just like Star Wars, it was they say the Star Wars movies were based on Orion. They had an evil empire, they had the resistance, they had masters, some of the greatest spiritual masters in our galaxy, as well as some of the greatest darkness. Okay. And they were known as the wizards of the Milky Way. They were masters of the mind. And so when Orion is activated, it's about healing our mental bodies and the stories we tell ourselves. But more of the energy around Orion was about the Orions really knew how to use the mind. And they say the mind is amoral. It's not good or bad, it's just the intention behind it. And there were dark forces there that used manipulation and mind control, because there are those who have actually taken on the role to be the catalyst for growth. And these are some of the tools they use. And so this is happening here. And of course, we're also, being asked to have critical thinking skills because we know that this is going on. But we are being pushed. We are being pushed until we realize that the battle that is most important, is the inner battle between our higher and lower selves. And it is about the integration of dark and light and the integration of the shadow material. And ultimately, the whole constellation of Orion in the galactic history ascended. And they ascended once they realized that as long as they fought the battle in the outer world, it was going to continue, that the real battle is within. And it is about healing the polarity consciousness, the mentality of the us versus them, that truly we are all source. We've all come from source. And so Venus is also bringing some wisdom in this area. So Venus is goddess of love. She's in Libra in her own sign. And so Venus in Libra is very much about inner balance, serenity, inner peace, beauty, harmony. That's what she loves. But, Libra is also the sign that is most out of balance, seeking balance. And so she is in conjunct this, or quincunx, 150 degrees from the full moon, the eclipse moon. She's opposite Chiron in Eris, and she's trine Jupiter. So makes a lot of aspects. She's also conjunct the star Arcturus, and Arcturus is a very high frequency star. The beings that come from there are very involved with Mother Earth in many ways, and they are masters of inner peace. They live in a state of unconditional love. And one of their teachings is that we can only have peace in the world when we have peace in our hearts. The external world is a reflection of the inner world. And really, where it starts with ourselves, we must be at peace with ourselves. That is where it starts. And it's about healing the divide and love. And once we have peace within our hearts, we really can heal the divide, love one another. And it may require making alliances where you do not agree 100% on everything, but where you can find common ground. This is what this is about. It's about having connecting with others and finding common ground. I've shared last month, the last video, and I'm going to share it again, that I'm going to be going to an event that I'm calling Heal the Divide. It will happen in the energy of this eclipse, of where that field is open. The field of oneness is open with the ability to connect and find common ground. That's how we heal the divide. And what is in the highest good of all. Okay. Now, the kite configuration that I talked about, the grand Earth trine, which is the Sun, Pluto, and Uranus, it is very much about manifestation on the material realm. Big changes, especially with Uranus and Pluto involved, but they're trines, so they're a little easier flow changes. And the moon Neptune, like I said, is the release point of that kite. And so we may find ourselves shifting dimensions and timelines. I just want to share that. So that's why it's so good to go to the woods to ground yourself. And I want to just say sometimes when I'm shifting dimensions, I get really nauseated, and it's just super important to be grounded, okay, during this time because the energy field is really expanding, very expansive, okay, and to know that miracles are in the field. And so focus on the kind of world you want that is based in love and compassion, and it will manifest because we are dreaming a new world into being. The veil is lifting with more accessibility and understanding of the quantum field. It's a time of envisioning the kind of world we want. Pisces is very visionary energy, and if we focus and often creating in the quantum field is we start with visioning. I remember this um, article I read one time, I think it was about Michael Jordan, that how he got so good was because he used creative visualization. And so start envisioning the kind of world you want, what you want in your life that is aligned with your highest good and with love. And it reminds us as well that that we are never alone, that we can always ask for help. The realm of the invisible. There are so many uh, from the galaxy here to help us make this shift. And we just have to ask for help, ask our guides, our angels, our Star Nation relatives. As I said, we are in a field of miracles when we can trust the process and surrender to the oneness. We can feel the vibrational field of the oneness as it becomes more conscious and accessible. When we allow ourselves to feel the unconditional love and compassion of the universe. With this lunar eclipse, we can experience the oneness as it is our own true divine nature. All right. Well, wishing you all a wonderful month where it's some beautiful energy coming up. It'd be really good to work with it to create real change in our life and in our world. And if you like this video, please check like and subscribe. It's really helpful to me. If you're interested in a reading, I have all my information in the description box. And so blessings to all and namaste.